Hello, welcome to my at-home Christmas workout. We're going to utilize the chi ball if you have one today, so you can use this in your workout. Our work today is going to be a full body workout. If you've got your chi ball, you can utilize it in the warm-up. Pop it between the VMO for me. So it's just above the kneecaps, resting on the quadricep as it slopes off into the knee joint. Bring yourself to your feet with the feet hip width. Start to connect the float of your sternum. As we float the sternum proudly, relax the shoulders. Place one hand on the belly below the belly button and one in the curve of the lumbar spine. We're going to start with pelvic mobility today. If you've got quite grippy or tight hip flexors, gently squeezing the ball may help to activate more of the adductor and less of these hip flexors today. Start to switch on some of your belt here. Exhale, connect to T-zone. Take a deep breath in. On the exhale, we're going to start to tilt the hip bones forwards. As we tilt the hip bones away from the rib cage, the pubic bone drops, the tailbone lifts, and you might find that your lumbar spine changes shape. The arch of your lumbar spine may get larger. Take a deep breath in and return to center. This time as you exhale, tuck your tailbone under as you move your hip bones back towards the rib cage. You're flattening out the lumbar spine. Your pubic bone might lift. Inhale to center. Exhale to tilt the hip bones away from the rib cage, bringing that lumbar spine into a larger arch. Inhale to center. And then exhale, tuck the hip bones back to the rib cage, tailbone under. You might have some glute activation here. Move through these two, a nice pelvic tilt forwards, gently moving that lumbar spine and tucking the hip bones back to come into that imprinted spine shape. Just do a few of these here, noticing how when you change the orientation of your hip bones, you also change the shape of the lumbar spine. We're going to come back to center after one more each way. Bring your pelvic bones to sit somewhere where they're not tilted forwards or tilted back, but resting in the middle. Float your hands, clasp onto your fingertips. Let's do a little bit of hug a tree. Keep the lumbar spine in neutral for me. Keep that soft bend present in your knees. Take your big breath in. As you drop your chin, look down at your belt. Exhale, feel your belt flatten as you pull your fingertips from your chest. Round over the upper back here. Inhale, take a big breath into the back of the rib cage. Exhale, scoop the belly and lift the spine upright. Float that sternum, chin back to neutral. Take your breath in here, drop the chin. Exhale, pull the fingertips away, rounding over the upper back. A gentle squeeze on the ball if you'd like. Sink the rib cage in, look down. Inhale here into the back of the ribs, and then exhale upright. Let's do 3. Inhale at the top. Exhale to tuck. Feel the belt flatten. Look down as you round across your upper back. Pull your fingertips from your chest. Inhale here, exhale upright, 2 to go. Drop the chin, exhale, hug a tree. Take a big breath in here, exhale upright. Lovely, last one, a deep breath in, tuck the chin, exhale. Inhale, exhale upright. Relax your arms by your side. Let's start to layer up some exercises here. From a nice soft knee position, let's start with arm prep. Now we'd like to keep our lumbar spine in neutral here. Start to switch on that connection across the front of the pelvis, your belt. And as you start to slowly exhale, float your hands up in line with the chest, in line with your eye or forehead, or directly over the shoulder. As you exhale, draw the rib cage in and down. Inhale, bring those arms back down. Arm prep on the exhale, sink the rib cage in. Think about your shoulder blade as the lever. It draws down as your arm lifts. Inhale to lower. Notice that you're not moving through your back here. We're not arching or letting the rib cage pop open. We're keeping the spine in neutral. Good. Exhale for your arm prep. Inhale to lower. If you'd like, add in some calf raises. Start to peel the weight of the heels off the mat as you exhale, sinking the rib cage in and down. We're floating the hands in line with the eyes or directly over the shoulder. Inhale to lower. If you need a smaller range of movement, you do not have to take the arms as high. Exhale to peel the weight off the heels and lift through the arch of the foot. Exhale, ribs draw in and down as we reach overhead. Inhale, arms down, heels down. If you'd like, as you exhale to peel the weight off your heels and arm prep, you can turn your palms out wide, sweep the hands down to the side of the thighs, inhale the heels lower. We can exhale, calf raise, arm prep, add in an arm prep circle. Let's do 2 from here. Exhale, calf raise. Arm prep or arm prep circle. Last one here, exhale. Turn those palms out. Inhale to lower. Connect back to your heels on the ground. Stay in this neutral upright posture. Take your big breath in. Let's roll. Drop the chin to the chest. Sink the rib cage towards the hip bones. Exhale, feel that roundness through your upper back. Exhale, start to lower the head in front of the chest and then the belt line. Let those arms dangle and swing. Exhale, you're rounding through your lumbar spine here as we lower the fingertips and crown to the mat. A big breath in at the bottom. You can squeeze your ball and push your feet into the mat. As you exhale, scoop the belly. Bring your tailbone back into alignment. Vertebrae on vertebrae lifts. Take a breath in as we release the shoulders and float the chin to neutral. Drop the chin, exhale to sink and roll. Now each vertebrae is rounding open, and this is an opportunity to let the back go here. Let the tension drop off your fingertips and through your crown. A breath in at the bottom. We're scooping the belly. Exhale, pushing through the feet. A squeeze of the ball to roll on up. A deep breath in at the top. 3 more. Drop that chin. Slightly straighten legs if you prefer. That will allow a deeper stretch on the hamstrings. So notice if this tension across your hamstrings and lower back is too much. Adding a bend through the knees may help you here. Good, we got 2 to go. A big breath in neutral. Drop the chin, sink the rib cage towards the hip bone. The belt is flattening. We're lowering the head down, letting each vertebrae round open as we lower with control. A breath in at the bottom. Let your back go. Scoop the belly, exhale. Let's roll on up. Here in our last one, we're going to roll down and then roll to the mat. So as you sink the rib cage in and down and lower the head in front of those legs, let yourself gently fold over those legs today and take a big breath in at the bottom. Now I want you to just sway side to side. Encourage the arms to relax. Encourage the head to drop forwards and let the weight drip off the neck. We're going to meet our fingers on the mat. We may need to squeeze our ball and bend our knees to do so. We're going to walk those hands forwards. Take a scoop of the belly here. Walk the hands forwards. Bring the knees down to the mat. Beautiful. You can untuck your toes and place your ball to the edge of the mat. We'll come back to that later. In our 4-point kneeling box, we're going to start warming up that chest and back. So situate your hand under your shoulder, your knee under your hip joint. I'd like you to flatten the upper back. So start drawing the shoulder blade down into the waistline. Float the head in line with the spine. You're pushing through the chest and through the middle of the back between the shoulders. We like those shoulders to be level and flat on the back of the rib cage. Now you need to let go of your abdominal connection here. We'd like to start activation back at pelvic floor. Take a soft breath in to lift through pelvic floor. That's front and back passage. And then exhale through T-zone. Flattening the abdominals, narrowing the hip bones together to switch on. We're going to start with swimming arm and leg here. If you need to separate the arms and legs, you can move the limbs separately. I'm going for the full exercise. On my next exhale, I'm going to reach out of the box with arm and leg here, opposite arm and leg moving. I'm going to squeeze my glute max to lengthen the leg and draw the shoulder blade down to lengthen the arm. If you'd like to stay in contact with the mat, you can. We'd like to keep hip bones and shoulder blades level. As we reach out of the box on the exhale, the squeeze of your glute, the draw down of your shoulder may lift hand and foot. We're coming back to the box on the inward breath here. So if you'd like, stay in very close contact with the mat, or as you squeeze the glute max, sink the ribs in, draw the shoulder blade down, hand and foot may lift to shoulder and hip height. We're working very hard to stop our pelvis turning outwards. Hip bones need to stay over your mat. This is good hip extension work. And we also want to think about staying stable through that flat upper back connection. You want to make sure the T-zone is working on that exhale as you reach away from center to keep getting that belt to flatten. Sink the rib cage in if we're floating the hand and foot from the mat. Now we're working towards our 10 reps here. If you'd like more, you can absolutely work towards a longer rep range of 12 to 15 reps. I've got 2 to go on each side. So I really want you to think about what you can manage here. And if you start to lose your balance or feel the lumbar spine become very heavy, you may have switched the abdominals off. My last one on each side here. I'm going to come back to the mat after my last swimming arm and leg. I'm going to take a rest in my child's pose or drop down to bent forearms. Just have a little break off your connection and off of that chest and back work. Your next exercise is a set of push-ups here. Level 1 or level 2, whichever is appropriate for you. If you're starting with your level 1, we're working towards those 10 to 12 reps. We start in our box position. Hand is back underneath the shoulder. Hands are as wide as the shoulder blade here. Start your switch on by drawing the shoulder blade down. Gentle push through the middle of the back, head in line with the spine. When you switch on your pelvic floor and abdominals, you are ready to work. Hands go as wide as your mat. Think about how you can keep your shoulder blade softly drawn down. As you inhale, lower the nose between the hands today. Scoop the belly, exhale to push away from the mat. That lift of the abdominals is very important here. Our level 1 is an inhale, nose drops down between the hands. Exhale, scoop the belly and push off. If you'd like, this could be your 10 to 12 reps in your level 1 box position. If you'd like to walk your hands 1 or 2 paces forwards, bring the chest forward so we now are aligning it between the hands and the head is in front of the fingertips. We can work at a bigger incline for level 2. Notice that this incline from shoulder, hip and knee needs to stay apparent. If you let your abdominals sag forwards and arch through your lower back, this becomes very unmanageable and hard to get back on up. So think about that gentle draw down of the tailbone with the lift of the abdominals. As we inhale, lower the chest down between the hands, we need to scoop the belly and push off. Don't push your bum back behind your heels. Think about keeping that alignment from shoulder, hip and knee. Inhale, on level 2, we drop the chest down, scoop the belly, exhale to push off. Good. If we're working for quality rather than quantity, you might do a couple in your level 2, and then you may need to come back since we're losing that nice connection and support through that neutral lumbar spine, and finish off your reps maybe in your level 1 box, 10 to 12 reps here. Once you've done your reps, there's an opportunity to take a break, particularly off the wrists, drop back to child's pose or come down to bent forearms. That's our last working exercise in 4-point kneeling. We're now going to do a shoulder stretch. Have a break, a longer one if you need. You can pause my video at any time. In my shoulder stretch, this thread the needle stretch starts from 4-point kneeling box. Change your wrist shape if you need. We start with the flat upper back position and the switch back onto T-zone. Now I'm going to take one hand from the mat. As I float the hand away from the mat here, the palm is facing down. Look at your thumb. Push your arm back as you inhale here. Open up the chest. We're going to thread this arm underneath the body. As it reaches past the chest, it slides between your supporting wrist and knee, and I bend my supporting elbow to fold my shoulder and ear to the mat. We're going to undo, inhale out to the side, push the arm back, sweep the arm underneath you, exhale, follow your head through, thread that arm between your supporting wrist and knee. Draw the elbow and shoulder to the mat by bending that supporting elbow. 2 more. Arm out to the side. Rotate the chest open. Exhale to rotate through. Exhale to reach. Slide that ear and shoulder closer to the mat. 1 more. Push the arm out to the side. And as we slide through here on the exhale, see if you can get your shoulder and ear as close to the mat as possible. Now, if you're okay with resting the weight on the side of the skull, take a breath or 2 here. You can release your supporting hand from the mat. It could reach behind your back hip bone and push your elbow and shoulder backwards to open up for a nice chest stretch here too. A couple of breaths, nice deep inhales and exhales. If this hand placement's too much, this hand can also reach to the ceiling. You're going to push the palm back and stretch along the chest, increasing that stretch of the shoulder also. Place this hand back on the mat, push yourself back to the box. Let's change sides. Staying switched on for that flat upper back position with the T-zone working. Float the hand off the mat. As it gazes out to the side with palm facing down, look at your thumb, push the arm back, open up the chest. As we exhale, we slide this hand underneath us. We bend that supporting elbow to draw our ear and shoulder closer to the mat on the exhale. Inhale, arm out to the side, push the arm back, look at that thumb. Follow the arm through, exhale, bend that supporting elbow, draw the ear and shoulder to the mat. 2 more to go. Inhale, arm out to the side, push the arm back. Sweep it through, exhale. A little bit closer with each rotation we go. 1 more, arm out to the side. Inhale, exhale, thread it through. As we slide the ear and shoulder a bit closer to the mat here, if you're able to support this weight being placed on the side of the skull, this supporting arm can release from the mat. We can reach behind our back hip bone here and push these shoulder blades, tip of the elbow backwards. This will give you a nice intense stretch along the side wall of the chest
as well as increase the shoulder stretch. Hand placement too much. This hand can also reach to the ceiling. I'm going to push the palm backwards. Take a breath or two here, increasing that nice shoulder stretch. One more breath to go. We'll come back to the mat, place the hand down, unthread the arm and come back to the box. Beautiful, have a rest if you need to in child's pose. Let's move on to some abdominal work in supine. Lay on your back for me. You can have your ball close at hand, we may utilize that next. As you lay yourself down, make sure the lumbar spine is in neutral for this set of exercises. Now we're switching back on, relax the shoulders, lift the pelvic floor, inhale, exhale, T-zone here. Simply starting with a nice set of lift and extend, nothing fancy. Keeping the hip bones level. On an exhale, we're going to float one foot from the mat, knee over the hip to tabletop. Stretch the leg from hip to toe, exhale to lower the leg, sink the rib cage in and down, flatten the belt. Inhale, knee over hip, pop that foot down. Exhale to float, knee over hip, stretch from hip to toe. Exhale to lower that leg. Sink the ribs in, stop the back from arching. Inhale, knee over hip, exchange sides. Not just your belt is working in this exercise, but also the obliques running from rib to hip. So we want to encourage the rib cage to close and draw down as we extend and lower the leg. Now you move through a range of motion which is suitable for you. This may be not equal across either side of your pelvis. So you only take the leg as far as you can remain neutral. Keep going. Let's do 2 more on each side to make a full set of 10. I want you to make sure you're breathing well enough. You're keeping the tension off the neck and shoulder. Beautiful. Exhale to lift, knee over hip, tabletop. Extend, exhale, close the ribs, draw the ribs to the hips to lower. Beautiful. Last one, lift, extend and lower. Beautiful. On your last one, perform your lift and extend for me, and then come back to the knee over the hip in tabletop, pause. Keep the belt on and working. Think about drawing this thigh bone down into the hip socket. Relax through the shoulders, come back to think about that rib cage placement, toe taps. Exhale, tap the toe towards the mat, inhale, knee over hip. As you tap the toe towards the mat, sink the rib cage in, inhale to float. Let's do 10. 3, exhale and inhale. Tapping further from your glutes is going to make this more challenging for you. And again, think about the ribs drawing in and down on the exhale, the belt flattening to control your neutral lumbar spine. I'm over halfway, I've got 4 to go. Exhale to tap that toe, relax the shoulders, inhale. If you're getting too much neck tension here, just gently drop the chin to the chest, or maybe support the head with a little pillow underneath. Elevating the head will give you less neck tension. Last one, exhale to tap the toe. Inhale, float the knee over the hip. Place the weight of the foot down. Have a break and reset the connection. 10 on the opposite side. Once more with the belt and pelvic floor working. Single leg tabletop on the exhale. Knee over the hip. Draw the femur down into the hip bone. Step that belt on and working. Exhale to tap the toe and inhale to float knee over hip. The further you tap from the glutes, the more challenging this exercise is. So really think about how you can support working through that neutral spine. Tap on the exhale, inhale to float. Beautiful. Tap further from the glutes. Think about making it more challenging, how you can control this range of motion with your belt and your ribs drawing in, connecting to those obliques. I've got 3 to go here. Exhale to tap the toe. Inhale to float knee over hip. 2 to go. Beautiful. And 1 more. Excellent. Knee over hip, pop that foot down, have a little break. Have this opportunity to completely relax, soften the belt, soften the pelvic floor connection. Good. Now, whilst you're resting, the next exercise for us here is going to be a set of single leg circle. We're going back to work the obliques. So I'd like you to keep the shoulders relaxed, switch back on and find your single leg tabletop once more. Rotate the leg out from the hip joint, step the knee over the pelvis. Now, bent knee or straight leg circle, your options. If that hamstring feels more pliable, you can lengthen the leg to make the exercise more challenging. Push your base foot into the mat here. As we start to stir your thigh bone in your hip joint, deep inhales and exhales. Think about how you can keep the leg turned out from the hip joint, keeping the pelvis stable. Inhale and exhale, use that rib cage placement. Add more on the belt if you're rocking and rolling. Now we're going for 8 to 10 circles one way and then 8 to 10 in the following direction. Beautiful, I've got 2 to go. A larger circle, more challenging to support that T-zone connection. Let's go in the opposite direction, come back to the top of the circle, the leg stays turned out, hips stay square. Start your circling in that anti-clockwise motion. Start with a small circle if you need. Keep your shoulders relaxed, keep breathing. Push that base support foot into the mat. That will keep you a bit more stable, adding a little bit more passive connection underneath that opposite side of the pelvis. Belt is still on and working. I've got 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. Come back to tabletop, rest that foot down. Reset the connection. Let's try the opposite side. With the T-zone on and working, single leg tabletop. Turn the thigh out from the hip joint. The knee stays over the pelvis. If you like, bend or straight leg circle. Push the supporting foot into the mat and start to stir that thigh bone in the hip joint. Small circles if you prefer. Keep the belt working. Larger circles are more challenging. Keep breathing, relax through the shoulders. 8 to 10 circles in one direction and then 8 to 10 in the opposite. Don't forget your breath work is really important here. So as we breathe in and out, we have that lovely expansion through the side of the rib cage on the inhale and the exhale where the rib cage draws in and down to close. I'm going in the opposite direction now, so reverse your motion. Keep the leg turned out from the pelvis. Push that supporting base foot into the mat. Beautiful work. Keep this single leg circle going. We're very close to our final few reps. I've got 4. A smaller circle is less challenging on the T-zone, more maintainable. A larger circle, more challenging. My final rep here. I'm going to come back to my tabletop and rest that foot down. Good work. Now the next exercise is a set of ab curl 1. If you prefer to stay head down, you can work your hundreds prep, doing your lovely press down through the arms and sinking the ribs in without lifting the skull from the mat. We can still do the ab prep work without straining the neck, or maybe you would just prefer to keep the upper body relaxed. It's Christmas, do what suits you. For my ab curl 1, my hands are going to go behind my head, elbows nice and wide. I'm going to lengthen the back of the skull by tucking the chin inwards, and I'm going to switch back onto the T-zone supporting neutral lumbar spine. I'm working in a single leg tabletop to begin this series, but if you need to work feet down, you can work towards your 15 to 20 reps with the feet on the mat in our level 1. As I'm switched on, I'm going to float the back of the skull a paper's width from the mat. Make sure that this weight of the skull is in your hands and you're lengthening the back of the neck for me. On your exhale, we're going to curl, sink the rib cage in and down, scooping the belly, ribs to hips to curl the back of the skull from the mat, and inhale to lower. In our single leg tabletop, we can work 5 reps on each side for me. Now you're not pulling that knee towards your face, so watch out for you imprinting that lumbar spine or tucking the hips back to curl. We're scooping the belly to lift the weight of the skull from the mat today, and we're maintaining neutral through the lumbar spine. Once you've done 5 reps on one single leg, changing sides, there could be a little break and a reset in the middle. Set the knee over the hip joint to continue, a little tuck of the chin. Exhale to curl, scoop the belly, draw the ribs to the hips to lift the back of that skull from the mat. You can lift higher as long as you can maintain neutral through the lower back. You might also lift partially the top of that shoulder girdle today. You're scooping your belly to lift that heavy skull from the mat rather than pulling on that base of the neck. Good. If you've done 5 in each single leg tabletop, you might like a well-deserved rest on the mat. You can come back for 5 more reps with feet down in our level 1, or you can bring your second leg off the mat into a tabletop. We'd like to keep the lumbar spine neutral, so don't bring the knees towards you and tuck the pelvis back. Keep the pelvis in neutral, the spine neutral. Knees and feet can be squeezed together for more stability. Once more, lengthen the back of the neck. Exhale to curl, scoop the belly. Inhale to lower. Now we're scooping out the abdominals here. 2 feet off the mat is quite a lot of work. So I want you to watch out for fatigue and also doming of the abdominals. If the belly is no longer flattening, we've probably done too much and let go of that connection already. I've got my final rep here. Now for those of you that want to work into that deeper rep range of 15 to 20 reps, You might like to bring the feet back down, back into level 1 for 5 more reps. Or you can exhale to curl and start to extend the legs into our extended level 2 position. Inhale to lower. I'm squeezing the knees and feet together as I exhale to extend. Inhale to lower. Exhale to curl, scooping the belly out to curl the back of the skull as I shoot the toes to the ceiling. This could be your final rep for me here. Finish off, exhale to curl. Inhale to lower. Rest head and shoulders down, knees to chest. Give that a little break. You can bring your feet back to the mat and completely reset. Now I'm going to show you the nutcracker, which is my final abdominal exercise here in supine. If you would like to come back and repeat any of your ab curls, should that be the feet back in level 1 on the mat, a single leg tabletop variation on each side, and even a double leg tabletop, you can. We're going to work towards our 10 to 15 reps of the next exercise, but you could swap them back out and repeat your ab curl. If you're not lifting your head from the mat today, but you'd like to still work the abdominals, I want you to go in for a set of arm prep and also a set of lift foot. Go for 10 arm prep, 10 lift foot. Work the abdominals, working the limbs separately for me. Now to show you my nutcracker, I need to work in a level 2 position with 2 feet off the mat. So a double leg tabletop is necessary for this here. I'm going to make sure I switch on the abdominals and bring 1 foot at a time off the mat. Notice that my abdominals stay flat, my spine is neutral, knees are over the hip joint. I'm going to make sure that I once more cradle the weight of the skull in the hands, elbows are wide, and I'm tucking the chin to lengthen the back of the neck. Knees and feet are together for this exercise. Now, as we exhale to curl, I'm going to sink the rib cage in and down to scoop the abdominals and peel the back of the skull from the mat. I'm going to open up my knees wide, pressing inwards through the inside sole of my heel and my big toe. I'm going to shoot the legs long, pressing the heels together. Inhale and close my knees to lower. I'm going to exhale to curl and open up the knees, shooting the legs long for nutcracker. Inhale and close. Exhale to curl, open up and shoot those legs long. Press those heels together. Bend those knees, come back to tabletop and lower. That's 4. Exhale, shoot. Oh, open and shoot. Inhale and lower. Exhale, open, shoot. Bend and close. Even I get confused. Exhale, open, shoot. Bend and close. Good. I'm working towards my 10 to 15 reps here. Absolutely come back to ab curl if you need to. Making sure you choose the appropriate exercise for you, or you could be working back at your arm prep and your lift foot for me. I'm on number 9. Exhale to curl, scooping the belly. I'm watching out for those abdominals. They're still flattening. I'm not doming or pulling the belly forwards, and I'm not pulling on the back of the skull here. I've got 4 to go. 3, 2, and 1. I'll give you 1 extra. As your head comes back to the mat, bring the knees to the chest. You can rock the lumbar spine gently onto the mat. Give it a massage here. Or you can bring 1 foot down at a time and take a little rest off. Let's finish with pelvic curl now here in supine. Walk your heels a little bit closer towards you. Relax through the shoulders, melt them onto the mat. Relax your arms by your side. I'd like you to switch on in neutral spine once more. Once you've got your connection, take a big breath in preparation. We're going to tuck the hip bones back towards us, bring the lumbar spine onto the mat. Squeeze the buttocks, push into the heels, exhale to peel the weight of your hips off the mat. Then roll each lumbar spine, each middle vertebrae from the mat, pressing into the heels to lift those hips. Take a big breath in at the top of your pelvic curl. Ribs have not popped open, glutes are on and hips are lifted. As we exhale, we're going to come back down, so sink the rib cage in and down. Sink each vertebrae back to the mat, lowering through lumbar spine and pelvis. Take a big breath in to return the spine to neutral, switching off the glutes and hamstrings before we go again. Let's tuck the hip bones back towards us. Squeeze your buttocks, push into your heels, exhale to lift. Each vertebrae rolls freely from the mat. You're resting on your shoulders for your breath in. Ribs are softly drawn in, glutes are on, hips are lifted. Exhale to lower. We're going to do 5 of these pelvic curls, so we have 3 more. Exhale to curl back first. Lumbar spine closes the gap between you and the mat. And we roll each vertebrae off, pressing into heels and igniting hamstrings. Roll back down, keep that glute work and hamstring work going. We got 2 to go. Exhale to curl and roll. A breath in at the top. Exhale to roll and let go. Good, each vertebrae melts back to the mat the same way it peeled off, and then we return to neutral inhale. Let's do 1 more. Exhale to tuck the hip bones back, the lumbar spine on the mat, squeeze the glutes, exhale to lift, press into those heels. At the top, stay lifted, take a big breath in for me. Let's do some marching here. If you'd like to just lift the heel from the mat, keep the ribs in, squeeze the buttocks, make sure the hips stay high. You can exhale, lift 1 heel from the mat, pushing down through the opposite foot and squeezing the opposite glute. Inhale to lower. Push this heel into the mat as we exhale, lift the opposite heel. You can just work lifting the heels from the mat, going for 4 or 5 reps on each side. Or as you exhale, push your right foot into the mat, squeeze your right butt cheek, exhale to lift your left foot or bring your left knee over the hip. Keep the hips high. You can measure with your hands if you need, if your hips are losing that level. Push this foot into the mat now, squeeze this butt cheek, exhale to lift. Foot or bring knee over hip, inhale to lower. Once more, try and not drop the hips here in our pelvic curl. If possible, use your hands to measure if you're losing that lovely lift of the hip bones. So we're going to go for 4 or 5 on each side. We're working at a level that's appropriate for us. Once we've done our 4 or 5, heel, foot, or knee over hip into that marching, we're going to come back to the mat, take a big breath in, and roll back down, exhale. Release each vertebrae to the mat slowly, the lumbar spine and pelvis included, and then inhale, release, and have a little break, switch off. Beautiful work. Squeeze those knees and feet together, roll on your side. Beautiful. Now we're going to do a little bit in seated, so grab hold of your ball, pop it between tailbone and mat for me. We're going to do a little bit of spine twist, and I want to encourage you to find a nice long back shape. You can have bent knee V-sit, you can have straight leg V-sit, and you can even have cross-legged if you need to. I want you to choose a leg shape that's appropriate for you. Grippy hips, once more, bend the knees, add less leg length for a shorter lever. I'm choosing straight legs today. As you've got the tailbone propped onto the ball, you want to think about how much pressure you have released into the ball here. If you've sat down with your pelvis tucked back and your tailbone under, your rib cage set back from your hips, you are already losing that lovely length through the back and that good strengthening postural work. So I want you to think about coming onto your sit bones themselves and lifting the weight of your tailbone off the ball. I'll show you that again. I'm coming onto the base of the pelvis and making sure I give that ball space to reinflate. I'm bringing my rib cage over my hips, so I think about my spine in one long column. I'm going to float my sternum, relax the shoulder blades, and from this point, I should be able to switch on T-zone. If I haven't lengthened the back and I'm rounding the back, it's very hard to find that deep abdominal connection. Once you've got this lift, set this as your focus of keeping that long column of strength through the spine. Take the arms out wide, elbows softly bent, shoulders relaxed. Let's do a spine twist. We're going to exhale to rotate round. Keeping the sit bones on the mat, the rotation is underneath the ribs at the waistline. Inhale to center. Try and keep that long column. Exhale to rotate round here, spine twist. Do not lean back, keep the rib cage over the hip bones. Inhale to center. Exhale for your spine twist, trying to stay upright and off the ball. Inhale to center. Exhale our spine twist. Inhale to center. Good. As you rotate, allow your head to move in line with your thumb. Inhaling to center. The torso, exhale, moves away from the hip bones. And then inhale back to center. In the middle, relax the shoulders, soften the elbow. You don't need to tense around your neck. We want to keep the tailbone floating in vertical, the weight pressed onto your sit bones at the base of the pelvis. So we keep as upright as possible through the back. Beautiful. We're going to do one more each way. Inhaling to center. Exhale your spine twist here. Find your rotation. Inhale to center. One more. Exhale, spine twist. Beautiful. Inhale to center. Relax the arms.
Excellent. Let's do a little bit of half roll back. You can utilize the ball in this placement if you need. I'm going to bend the knees to begin this. Now, even if you like straight leg rolling, just start with bent knees, just so we can encourage the back to move in its round fashion. If you don't want to do any half roll back, you can lay back on your back. You can do a set of oblique curls, or if you prefer, you can come back to your leg slides from your beginner course, or even your lift foot for those 10 reps. I'm going to once more lengthen the spine upright. Remember that you find that nice tall column of strength. You can hold on under the thighs or float the hands here. From this long spine shape, you switch back onto T-zone for me. Now I want you to undo this lengthened spine. Drop the chin towards the chest. Think about rounding the back of the neck. And allow the tailbone exhale to tuck underneath the pelvis as you tuck the hip bones back towards the ribs. As we exhale to scoop the belly and roll the weight back, you're squashing the ball between your lumbar spine vertebrae and the mat. We're going to scoop the belly on your next exhale, roll your forehead to your knees. Options to use the arms if you need to, but we're going to come up really rounded and small, and then inhale, lift the spine tall. If you're able to, you can start to walk your tailbone and your ball further away from each other. So undo that squidge of the ball between you and take it maybe a couple of centimeters away, 5 to 10. You're now going to have to find that spine connection with the ball. From upright, T-zone on, tuck the chin. Exhale, tuck the tailbone under. Hip bones sink back towards the rib cage as we scoop the belly. Exhale, we're rolling the vertebrae back. I found the contact with the ball. I'm keeping the spine round. No tension across the base of the neck. Relax the shoulders away. A big breath in. Exhale to scoop the belly and roll the forehead to the knees. Come up rounded. And then inhale to lift tall. If you find that you're gradually rolling the ball away, you may come to the base of the shoulders, which is as far as we go for that half roll back. Once more, tuck the chin. Exhale, tuck the tailbone under. Move the hip bones back towards the rib cage. Exhale to roll back. Find that connection with your ball on the mat. Take a big breath in that round spine shape. Look at your abdominals. Scoop the belly. Exhale, roll the forehead to the knees. Come up rounded. And then lift tall. Let's do 2 more of those. I'm going to walk the ball further away this time. Exhale to tuck. Tuck and tilt back through the pelvis. Exhale to scoop the belly and roll the weight back. Oh, I'm coming into a very, very low half roll back. I'm keeping that round spine shape for the breath in. Exhale to scoop the belly, roll the forehead to the knees. Let's come up round. Inhale to lift. Let's do 1 more. I'm going to take it to my very lowest point of my half roll back here. From that lifted tall shape, tuck the chin, tuck the tailbone under. Hip bones tilt back towards the rib cage. We're going to scoop the belly, exhale to roll back. Now, as I roll down here, I know that I'm in my lowest shape for my half roll back. I'm just on the midst of a full roll. Take a deep breath in here, scooping the belly. Exhale, I'm going to roll the forehead to the knees, rolling into that small ball, and then lifting upright. Beautiful. Relax the arms here. Have a little break off. Excellent work. Beautiful. We're going to finish in prone today on our front, doing a little bit of back work. So roll yourself on over. Come to lay on your front for me. If you need something under the forehead, pop something under that forehead to just take some pressure off the neck. You do not need your glutes for the next 2 exercises, so just relax them. Soften the back of the pelvis for me. Hands are at face height for stop signs. Relax the shoulders from the ears and let's start. Using your mat for feedback, take a nice soft breath in to lift the front and back passage of your pelvic floor. Exhale to lift the weight of the abdominals off the mat, narrowing the hip bones as you lift those abdominals internally. Now you should have a difference between switched on and switched off, particularly from where you feel lifted and supported through the lumbar spine. We're keeping the abdominals lifted since we're going into stop signs here. On the exhale, as you start to draw the shoulder blade down your back, draw your elbow into your waistline beneath your rib cage. Now that shoulder blade disappears under that waistline with the belt flattening. Inhale, hands to face height. Looking or resting the forehead down. On the exhale, draw the shoulder blade down your back. As the elbow disappears into the waistline, feel your middle back on, belt flat. Inhale, hands to face height. As you go through your stop signs here, remember, if you're switching off and letting the abdominals press forwards into the mat, you may find pressure at the front of your hip bones, really, really strong, or that your lumbar spine feels heavy here, and that you're unable to support
this connection, and it detracts away from this upper body work that you're doing here. Don't strain your neck. That's also going to detract away from this abdominal strengthening and upper back work that we're doing. We're going to do one more of these beautiful stop signs. Exhale to draw the shoulder blade down the back, elbow to the waistline. Inhale, hands to face height. Actively let your belt relax, soften your pelvic floor, and feel the difference. Let's finish with Swan Prep here for some back mobility. This is upper back extension now. Your glutes stay soft and relaxed. Drop your forehead into the mat. Switch off before you switch back on. Take a nice deep breath in here. Lift front and back passage, pelvic floor. Exhale, lift the weight of the abdominals off the mat and narrow the hip bones. Feel that belt wrapping from lower back to the front of the pelvis today. Keeping your arms on the mat, take a breath in and start to roll a little marble with the tip of your nose forwards, just a centimeter ahead of you. We're going to look at the tip of the nose as we exhale, draw the shoulder blade down the back today. It's disappearing into the rib cage beneath the waistline, peeling the chest off. We're going to bring the chest back down on the inward breath, but keep that attachment to your working T-zone. Drop your nose to the mat. Exhale, roll that nose underneath your chin. Open up the back of your neck. Let's do that again. Relax those glutes. Inhale, start to roll your little marble forwards with the tip of your nose, just a centimeter ahead of you, please. Keeping the neck neutral means looking down the tip of your nose. As you exhale, glide the shoulder blade down your back, flattening the belt, we peel the chest off. Inhale, chest comes back down, nose on that marble. And then we're going to roll that marble underneath the chin today. Exhale. Let's do two more. Roll the marble forwards, inhale. Exhale to draw the shoulder blade down your back. Exhale, it disappears into the waistline, the chest peels off. Inhale, chest comes back down, nose on that marble. Exhale, roll that marble underneath the chin. Let's do one more here for me. Roll the marble forwards, inhale. Look at the tip of the nose. Exhale, glide the shoulder blade down your back. Peel the chest from the mat surface. Inhale, chest back down, belt still working. We're still working these abdominals. Nose on the mat. Exhale, roll that nose underneath the chin. Open up the back of the neck here. Now, as you relax into the mat, just let go of the belt connection. Soften the pelvic floor. Notice the difference between on and off. We're going to finish looking at our plank 1 and plank 2 today. So push up onto those forearms. Starting with our plank 1 work, we know that plank 1 has a lot of emphasis on upper back strength and upper back extension. So as you come to read your book on the beach, push off your forearms, draw your shoulder blade down, float your chest forwards between your arms and slide the elbow tip back towards the rib cage. You should find your upper back extension is quite large here, probably at its limits. Now, relax those glutes and go to your pelvic floor. You need to support this extension of the back. And as we inhale to lift front and back passage, let's not round over that upper spine. Keep drawing the shoulder blades down. Exhale to lift the weight of the abdominals off the mat today as the hip bones start to narrow. We feel that deep abdominal lift with your hips nice and light on your mat surface. This could be your focus for your 10 breath work here. Breathe in and out deeply, tapping a finger to count those 10 breaths. Back extension is your primary focus with the abdominals attached to support the shape of the back. I'm going to come up into plank 2. You may join me if you'd like. I'm going to scoop the belly on the next exhale. This is a deeper abdominal lift, and I'm narrowing the hip bones further to push off the forearms and lift my pelvis roughly in line with the shoulder girdle. As I come into my sushi table, my plank 2, I want my shoulders and hips to be level, and I might need to reassess. Take your breath in. Notice your elbow tip and your shoulder need to be aligned for the front length of the table. If they're too set back, your hips will be too high. So make sure you've got that nice strong alignment and you're still actively pushing through the shoulders. On the next exhale, lift through the abdominals. You might notice that that lift of the abdominals drops my tailbone. I don't have to think about this alignment. The scoop of the belly is enough to get that pelvis to come back to a neutral position. Here I'm breathing, counting my 10 breaths if this is what I'm working towards. If you'd like to work to your plank 3, you can tuck the toes under and press into the ball of the foot. 8-point plank is a nice medium pace between plank 2 and plank 3. Coming up into plank 3, you're going to exhale, lift through the abdominal wall, not lifting the hips, pushing into the ball of one foot to lift one knee. Notice I haven't moved or shifted through my pelvis. You can hold this for a breath or 2 and change sides, Or I'm going to exhale, scoop the belly and lift the second knee from the mat, promoting the hips still in line with the shoulders. Keep the shoulders drawn down and push off the chest here. A couple of breaths, working towards your 10 if this is your focus for your level 3 plank. I'm making sure that if I start to feel the abdominals sagging, I've exaggerated for your effect. I'm going to lift back through the abdominal wall and make sure the tailbone drops. I bring the shoulder and the hip bones level. This is my focus for 10 breaths. And if I'm struggling to breathe, I come back to level 2 immediately. And I make sure I realign elbow, shoulder, front legs, and the lift of the abdominal wall. Once you've counted your 10 breaths, you're going to come back down the same way you came. So if you're in your level 3, one knee down, one knee down, keep the abdominals working. Bring the pelvis forward so you flood the hip bones back to the mat, but the abdominal wall is still lifted and engaged. You can untuck the toes and then sink the chest forwards. Release the chest to the mat. Take a break off once you're lowered down. Relax the belt, soften the pelvic floor. Beautiful. From here, slide the hands down to chest height, scoop the belly, push off, come back to 4-point kneeling box. I'm going to do a little pigeon pose from here to stretch the side of the hip wall. And if you'd like, you could just come back into child's pose and have a little break. To get into my pigeon today from 4-point kneeling, hand under shoulder, knee underneath hip joint. I want to flatten the upper back and switch back onto the abdominals. Slide one leg out of the box. Cross this leg across this opposing ankle, maybe even the heel if you need. Start to slide this leg back. As you slide the leg back, if you need to break, put your knee onto the mat or tuck the toes and press into the ball of the foot. We can limit our stretch here. If you're very tight through the hips, you may not get very low in the stretch. If you can and you like to slide the leg as far back as possible, you might come down onto this bottom shin. We might find that this is the limits of our stretch, and we might be able to let our upper body round forwards, bring our forearms to the mat and lower the head for a couple of breaths here. If it's not comfortable and you get any kind of pain in this side of the hip or in the front of the pelvis from this stretch, simply come out of it slowly, take a break in your child's pose. Take a breath and let your forehead round forwards if possible. Exhale, just sink the weight forwards, opening up the side of the hip, piriformis. A couple of breaths. We're going to change sides next, so one last breath in and out. Uncross the arms, slide back to the box, let's change sides. From your box position with the T-zone on, slide the leg out of the box for me, cross it over the supporting ankle or heel, and start to push your way back, sliding into the stretch. Once more, you can bend the back knee or place the back toes onto the mat if you need a break at any time. I'm going to slide myself down to the point where I'm resting on this bottom shin. If you're able to, cross your forearms over, relax your forehead forwards and take a couple of breaths. Let your forehead softly hang for a breath in. Exhale, let the side of your hip open and stretch. Couple of breaths here. Beautiful. One last inhale and exhale. We're going to undo the forearms, bring the palms back to the mat and come back to the box. Let's do a little child's pose. Open up the knees. You can have your toes turned together. Now, a wider knee position may suit you if you're stretching through the inside of the thigh also. As we exhale to pull our bum back towards our heel bones, you're going to slide your fingertips forwards. Now, activate and stretch, reaching the arm from the armpit to the fingertip. As you pull the bum back and down, drop the forehead. If it can rest on the mat here, soften off the neck joint, keep the arms reaching. Now we would like to think about stretching underneath the armpits and down the sides of the lat. So we're pulling the bum back and down and reaching with the fingertips. Have a couple of breaths here. Let the forehead softly relax forwards. Shoulder blades have drawn down, but we're reaching through the arms. Letting the back softly round. A nice deep breath in and out to finish this stretch. We're going to let the arms soften and the hands will slide back to about ear height. Scoop the belly and push off the mat, come back to the box. I'm going to come up through downward dog today. Hand is stacked under shoulder, knees under hip joint. I'm going to tuck the toes. I'm going to scoop the belly and exhale, lift through the knees to hitch the hips high. As I press the heels back towards the mat, you can have bent knees or straighten out the legs for a nice calf stretch. Now you're actively pushing through the upper body. Shoulders and palms are pressed into the mat. Head is relaxed between the arms. You could have a couple of breaths here or pedal the feet if you'd like to release off those calves. On your next inward breath, soften the knees. Walk your hands back towards your feet for me. Settle your heels back in contact with the mat. Exhale, scoop the belly and roll on up. As you align the spine back tall, lift the head, relax the shoulders. And that's it. You've done a nice home workout for your full body. If you enjoyed this, you can repeat it, or if you'd like something else, give me a message. I've got a couple of videos for you to choose from here. Otherwise, if I don't see you before the new year, have a lovely Christmas and a very, very happy new year 2022 coming up next. See you later.